Hey, good morning, my crypto trading friends. Okay, so we have some news to talk about before I jump into the charts. First one is our focus on Ukraine. Of course, I said shift of focus there, and I was meaning the Fed, but it's not just the Fed, it is the media as a whole placing a large amount of focus on the Ukraine situation, and this, of course, heightens fears and uncertainty and doubt and all those things that are not good for the market. Uh, Second thing, is it just me or does it seem to be that Russia is relaxing their scrutiny on cryptocurrency as a whole? What does this mean for the price of cryptocurrency? And what does it actually mean for the dollar as well? Could it mean for the dollar? I should say it that way. We'll talk about that once we get into the charts. Of course, you all probably are aware, even if you did not see the ad, of the Coinbase ad that was put on the Super Bowl last night. Coinbase spent $16 million to float around a little QR code and bounce it off the edges of the screens. And 10 seconds later, it crashed. They were not prepared for that traffic. Nevertheless, it appears that they are second in the App Store. That could be a good sign. And finally, I am pulling up a chart of, in this case, it's liquidity. That blue line here you see in the chart represents liquidity, and it is at an all-time low, which of course inversely correlates to illiquidity, which is what I typed up here, being at an all-time high. So why am I pointing this out when I'm chosen not to give it a large, as significant of a priority in my indicators as I did in the past? Well, I think it is still very important to recognize the amount of illiquidity on the exchanges, especially when you sense that a bull market is nearby. You want to prepare for that bull market, or if you're on the bearish side, you want to prepare for the bearish side of things. When there is a large amount of illiquidity, prices will move very fast, and it will be hard to catch them once they do. So it bears worth repeating that illiquidity statistic. Okay, let us jump into our charts here and see what's going on. The dollar has gone back above my trend line. At some point, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this trend line. I've said this before, but the more times you cross down and then back above and then back down and then back above, the less significant this line becomes, because the market no longer, it's indicating that the market really no longer respects that level of support slash resistance, whatever it is. And the same thing goes for any line that you draw on the charts, whether they be levels or trend lines, even moving averages. All right. So that should be something that we recognize. And here we see that the dollar is growing stronger again. Of course, this all comes with the market pricing into the indexes the fact that Jay Powell and company are going to be raising interest rates. I think the current threat is 0.5, March 16th. I believe that is the date. So 0.5% on March 16th. Again, it remains to be seen whether or not that happens. But in the meantime, the market has to respect that and price in those that news. All right. The VIX is still spiking. And of course, this is probably all due to the Ukraine news being at the front and center of the headlines. Along with it, of course, Jay Powell and company have been meeting, and sometimes secretly. I believe they had a secret meeting this last weekend. Nobody really knows what that was all about, but they do have authority to do that. crypto. That all kind of factors into this uncertainty. What was that all about? And whenever you see the dollar and the VIX spiking at the same time, what does that mean for our indexes? They should be going down, and in fact they are, or were. All right, we hit our level of support down here on the Dow. SPY down just a bit. NASDAQ is down, and QQQ is currently slightly rising, so pretty neutral. All right, and that all makes sense in correlation with what we saw in the dollar and the VIX. Now let's jump to the dominance chart, and you can see that we had this bull flag play out, broke to the upside of that triangle, and that propelled us through a 42.62% resistance, which coincided with the 200-day, a significant area of confluence, and we made it through that. So onward and upward goes the Bitcoin dominance. And as I stated before, I think this is our next level of resistance. We will hit that, possibly smash through that, and go all the way up here to our 47% dominance. And that will be in the future, of course, obviously. But what does that mean for Bitcoin? I think that bodes well, of course, for Bitcoin as well. Doesn't necessarily have to, because you could see dominance increasing, and it just means that Bitcoin, it could mean that altcoins are crashing faster than Bitcoin. In this case, we are trending upward more recently, so I'm taking that into account, and at this point my statement was assuming we would continue to trend upward. And if that is the case, if we do continue to trend upward, then I think we should propel through these very significant levels of resistance. This orange support comes all the way back from February of last year, so 1 year old. And this blue ascending trend line comes all the way back from around October of 2020. And the purple line I started to draw here in July, and these are the wick lows, all these different candles. And that could be still significant. Looks like it was significant in this area, at least. We respected that purple line. So I think we still should pay attention to all of those trend lines, and that then becomes a very significant area of confluence with all these trend lines and supports merging together. All right, and we need to get above that for me to really become uber bullish. But with what I'm seeing on the dominance chart, and with what I'm seeing in the news, Russia relaxing scrutiny on crypto, could it mean, by the way, let's talk about that a little bit, if the US dollar no longer has to be relied on, it no longer becomes the dominant global force. All right, so previously the US in their authoritarian state would say, all right, Russia, you're breaking the rules. You're a bad boy. So we're going to sanction you. In other words, you can no longer do trade with us. And the dollar, being the dominant force globally, was a big threat. And it kept all these other nations in line. Basically, the U.S. acted as a bully and waved their powerful dollar, their almighty dollar, over the countries that were out of line in their opinion, or threatened their power or dominance, or whatever it is. All right. But with crypto now in play, and we've seen nations adopt crypto, El Salvador. All right. Is it a possibility that Russia is relaxing scrutiny on crypto because they are setting themselves up to give the good old US a big old middle finger and say, screw you, we don't need you anymore. We don't need the US dollar. We have crypto. If, and that's a big if, but if that is the case, and this all correlates with what I'm seeing on the charts, then we will see a rise in crypto, especially Bitcoin, that is so fast and so furious, people won't know what hit them, all right? It'll just propel us straight through all of this, almost like a rocket ship, straight up. And that's not something to hang your hat on, but within the realm of all possibilities, it could be a possibility. And we need to at least consider it, or we're not doing our due diligence. And so right now, that's one of the things I have introduced as a possible variable, which could become more and more true as I continue to read and see headlines in this direction. Anyways, Bitcoin right now is following the dominance trend, and currently we are, let me just zoom in here. Currently we're hitting our heads on this 42,938 resistance almost exactly, all right? Likewise today we came down and hit our support. So we're kind of bouncing around between our 50-day and purple trend line support and our resistance overhead, and we're exactly in between. I don't expect anything to change today. I think that's what we see today. But for the future, if trends continue, and if my theory might be a little bit right, even that Russia is entertaining this idea of continuing, the possibility that the U.S. will threat sanctions, and then they're like, well, we still have crypto. That will propel crypto onwards and upwards regardless of what the markets will do. All right, that will kind of decouple crypto from the markets, and that, in my opinion, my friends, will be the first domino that falls in favor of mass adoption of crypto like we have never seen before. All right, I will end on that note with that possibility, all right, because it's a great thing to think about if you're a crypto fan. So the Ukraine situation hasn't seemed to impact crypto negatively from what we've seen thus far. And if anything, it's possible that it could be a catalyst for mass adoption. If you guys enjoy this type of content, then you all know what to do. I'm not going to say anything further, but I will see you on our next video. Hope you enjoyed the video.